The Indian Removal Act was signed by Andrew Jackson on May 28, 1830, authorizing the President to grant unsettled lands west of the Mississippi in exchange for Indian lands within existing state borders. A few tribes went peacefully, but many resisted the relocation policy. For me, I go against the act. I felt that Jackson shouldn't have done this, and that the tribes should have stayed where they were, even without a title. I feel that they were already settled, and they shouldn't have been forced to move from their homes and lose most of their lives and most of all the things they had. Hello, my name is Julian Sanchez, and this is the Land Growth and Justice of the Cherokee Indians. And this is the conflict that made the Removal Act between Andrew Jackson and the Indians and why they were removed. Let's begin. So like I said before, the side I chose was the Cherokees for them not to have the Removal Act at all, because they were deeply affected by all the changes, and they honestly had to rebuild from what they had before and just start fresh new because of this act. And they lost a lot of the population due to all this happening. They traveled from many different places, and it was just very hard times for all natives. On the excerpt from President Andrew Jackson's first annual message to Congress on December 8, 1829, he states that the condition and ulterior destiny of the Indian tribes within the limits of some of our states have become objects of much interest and importance. It has long been the policy of government to introduce among the arts of civilization. So, whenever he's discussing this quote, he's putting it towards the Cherokee Indians, saying that they're getting more land from stealing it from the Indians and forcing them to move. Traveling caused a big epidemic because lots of natives lost their lives due to the poor weather, not having medicine, or just being able to take care of any needs they had, such as starvation or being sick. Once they reached the west, they tried to rebel, but they were instantly killed. Another person that had a strong saying in the Native American Removal Act was the man William Penn. And then one of the quotes I used was that all attempts to accomplish this removal of the Indians by bribery or fraud, by intimidation and threats, by withholding from them a knowledge of the strength of their cause. So he's saying their cause was that because they had gold, they didn't know that. And so that's why they were trying to get them out of the land without them acknowledging that they were trying to get gold, stealing from basically the natives. Once the natives had reached the Oklahoma Territory, they were tired and they couldn't do much, and they were slowly dying. But some decided to not stop and to extend their families, build towns, and to settle and be happy where they were, that they were at least all together, they could all cooperate. And an excerpt from a speech of Senator Theodore Franklin-Husen. He states that the gold mines would hold out an irresistible temptation to all such characters. The existence alone of the rich gold mines utterly forbids the idea of a state. So what he's saying about this is that they literally just went to the natives' land, just took their land from them, just to have the gold mine. They're so selfish, and the natives are just chilling there and just trying to be by themselves, and they just swoop in and just take their land. It doesn't make sense. The natives should be able to hold where they are and have a title to their own land without these people taking their land. As most natives started to die off and they were just dying one by one by one, all they could do was surrender and give up their rights to Andrew Jackson, saying that he won, that the Removal Act is all his and they can't do nothing about it because they'll die if they try to repel just even a little bit with only a little bit of people. So all they can do from it is just make the best of it and make a better town, make a better place for themselves and for the future of their kids. Another group that affected the Indian Removal Act was the Cherokee Women protest. And in their protest, or shall I say petition, they quoted that, "Our beloved children and head men of the Cherokee Nation, we address you, warriors in council. We have raised all of you on the land which we now have, which God gave us to inhabit, and raise provisions." And so, what they're saying in this quote is that they finally got their land back that was taken from them, that they worked so hard against all the laws that Andrew Jackson put up and everybody else put up, and they went past all of those obstacles and finally got their title to their land. Another person that affected the outcome of the Indian Removal Act was none other than a native himself, John Ridge. So in his excerpt, or his letter, Ridge began by giving a geographic location of the Cherokee Nation, its population, its successful adaptation of agriculture, its government, the status of women, its religious beliefs, and the educational institutions, and how they were all just coming together and developing all as a unison. A quote I would use for this was that they were giving to the women spinning wheels, cards, and looms. It appears when this change of hunter life to a civilized one was proposed by the agent to the chiefs of council, that he was anonymously laughed at by the council for attempting to introduce white people's habits among the Indians who were created to pursue the chase. And so they all learned from each other and they all were able to work with each other. It was really cool. Another person that played a big part during the Indian Removal Act was none other than John Ross, and he was actually on the Native American side discussing things to Andrew Jackson and how the Native Americans evolved, even with them removing them from their land, their homeland, they were still able to adapt. I don't believe that they should have been removed. They were doing fine where they were, but things happened for a reason, and they actually got better during this. And a couple quotes from John Ross was that, "It is known to your excellency that the history of the Cherokee Nation since the year 1829 up to the present has been on its start one of repeated, continued, unavailing struggle against the cruel policy of Georgia. On the part of the state, it has been one of the unparalleled, aggravated acts of oppression." And he was trying to stick up for the natives, saying that Andrew Jackson ultimately messed up what he did to the natives. In conclusion, the Native American Removal Act slightly did help the natives develop and grow as a unison and be able to do things, learn agriculture, study in institutions, such things as that, learning from whites whenever they moved. But I don't think they should have been removed from their land because it caused lots of people to die that didn't need to die. and just because of a stupid act that Andrew Jackson put to them because of some gold. But in the end, the natives did develop.